You know, time spent amongst trees is never wasted time. That's a quote from author Katrina Mayer. There's just something about trees. And I know most of us are marveled by them, but always from a distance, generally speaking. When is the last time you really got close to a tree? So today, we're going to do a whole show on trees because National Forest Week officially starts up on Sunday and runs for the week. I'm really excited about this. Welcome to the program. My name is Anwar and this is Here and There. It's always a privilege to have your valuable time here on a Friday. I'm not going to say exactly where we are because it doesn't matter. I want to encourage you, this weekend's going to be fabulous, to go out and explore nature and take a look at the trees in your neighborhood. We're going to point out things throughout the course of the hour, but even just here, I mean, you can see there's so many different types of trees, in particular in stages of how old they are. And, you know, I want us to connect with trees because the amazing contribution that they provide, I mean, they really do facilitate our existence on the planet. And we're going to have a great tour guide. Kristen Ferguson is joining me from the Nature Conservancy of Canada. And she's going to pinpoint some things that I just, you know, it's amazing what nature can teach us, and if we connect with it, I think we're just better for it, so I'm excited to do that. Now, also, we have just so many things coming up on the program. We're going to show you also some of the largest trees in the world, the oldest tree in Canada, which will just floor you on the age. It's older than Vern. There's the benchmark, boom, right? But we're going to highlight some unique aspects, and also the largest tree in the world. Plus your full forecast, it's feeling like, I want to say summer. It is technically summer, but only a few days left, but it's really going to heat up today. We're starting to see that sun now, you know, peer through the canopy here in this forest. And I also want to share a little bit about my adventure earlier this week in Kingston, Ontario. I posted a little bit on my social channels. I am on Twitter and Instagram, by the way, at Anwar Knight. I welcome you to follow me there. But I want to show you here on Facebook now really the first extended view of what my adventure was like, because I was a part of a major production in Kingston. It's it will be a huge network series. It's going to be digital in terms of, you know, like a Netflix, but it's not Netflix, not yet anyway, but even bigger than that. And I'm not allowed to say much in terms of what the title was, this and that, but I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was really kind of cool. It really is like a small town. So let me roll this video of what it looked like. And I haven't done this in many, many years, but it was really a fun introduction to get back into doing a little bit of acting, if you will. So take a look at this video, and this is out in Kingston, so this was base camp. So behind the scenes, you can see the trailers. They gave me my own trailer, which I thought was very cool. Then from there, we got shuttled to the Kingston airport, and part of my role was joining a news team, if you will. So you'll see the news helicopter that was there, and the expert flight team. You know, we had two pilots, Dave and Len, and the cinematographer. So the black helicopter was the one that was shooting us in the other helicopter where I was delivering my lines to my camera person. But what I found fascinating, part of the planning was using just little miniature toy helicopters. They wanted to plan what we were going to do because they were going to do some maneuvers in the air to simulate us being shot down. So I thought it was fascinating. So here I am in our chopper. Len is our pilot, and we're about to take to the air. There's the Kingston airport, and it was just really neat. You know, I've done a lot of things in choppers before, but not like this. So, you know, we're inside, we're getting set to where we're going to do our maneuvers and our items to the team, and there's that black dual-engine helicopter that shoots us. It has all the gadgets, the 4K cameras and all that sort of thing. But you'll see here, they also asked me to shave. They said, for the character, you got to get rid of the goatee. So that is where I want to go with the AKQ. Do I grow it back, or do I keep it bare? I don't know, you know, my kids want me to grow it back. That is the AKQ, the Anwar Knight query. I know, a little self-indulgent, but I value your opinion. Should I just stay bare here, or should I have it come back? Vern, dare I ask?
Leave it off.
Leave it off. Ricardo?
More beard, man. More beard.
Yeah, because he's got a beard, yeah. Okay?
Stay clean.
Stay clean. Okay, so far we're looking at it's 2 to keep it off. So I'll leave that up to you. We have a lot of people that are joining us, and I look forward to having you answer this AKQ on whether I should shave my goatee or not. Lori says clean shaven looks great. Oh, Kathy says never been in a helicopter. Must have been awesome. It really is kind of neat. Mary says keep it bare. Aisha says goatee or not. They both suit you. Well, that is a nice right down the middle answer. I like that. Shirley says keep it bare. You're talking about the chin now, right? I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Joey says bear, bear, bear. Shar says, oh, and Dean Mackey are joining us. And oh, look, Cindy says they knew the best journalist newsman there is for that part. Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to sending out some more video and pictures as we get closer to the debut of it. It was a fun thing for me. It was 3 days. And Kingston, I haven't been there in a very long time. So very pretty town. That's another spot where you want to go. But, oh, and Dean Mackey are joining us. And, oh, look, Cindy says they knew the best journalist newsman there is for that part. Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to sending out some more video and pictures as we get closer. Some of the things that I'm trying to convey for today's show, just the different varieties and looking at the textures of various trees. You know, there are over 60,000 species of trees in the world. There's over 3 trillion of them, and they all have their own identity. And we're not talking just about the height or the leaves, but when's the last time you look closely at the bark of a tree and see the texture that you're dealing with? And you know, science has proven already, a relatively recent study, that trees work together to survive. They help one another through a network of root systems. It's really just amazing. And you know, trees, even at the end of the life cycle, help the forest environment where they grow. You know, whether it's shelter for animals or food, but also provide a nutritious boost to the ecosystems as it starts to break down. It really is amazing, and I think we do take it for granted. So that's what we wanted to highlight today as we get into National Forest Week. And it's about creating awareness of the importance of forests and how they're connected to our everyday lives in so many ways. And my guest knows all about that. Kristen Ferguson is joining us from the Nature Conservancy of Canada. It's a charitable organization with a primary goal, actually, to protect our country's most precious natural places. So it's great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Anwar.
And I think, you know, that's something you guys take to heart, because you are really trying to look for the next generation.
That's right. Yeah, the Nature Conservancy of Canada is all about what can we do today to ensure fantastic nature, beautiful forests are here for the next generation and the one after that, and so forth.
And you know, besides it helping our existence, but just to be able to connect with nature, especially during COVID, we've realized, you know, how much we need that. It's the escape of all the really the challenging times we're dealing with. So this is to carry us through. But I wanted to borrow you today, so I appreciate your time, and just point out some features that some of us, you know, we walk by and yeah, it's kind of neat, but there's so many great stories. And you found this one here, so I followed where you were.
Yep.
So firstly, I'm taken aback by just the bark layers.
Yes, this tree is incredible. So it really caught my eye because it's got this sort of platiness to the bark. It's peeling away from the tree. That's an indicator of an older growth tree.
Okay.
So this is actually a pretty nice little patch of forest in an urban setting where this tree has been growing for, I calculated, somewhere close to 150 years or more.
Wow.
So I don't know if you can kind of see up where it starts to curve and sort of move around.
Now, is that, a layman looking at it, is it, you know, was it a disease or was it another tree as it was growing maybe 80 years ago and it was arcing around it?
I love your second theory that it was trying to be actually maybe move away from something, but then it's funny, as trees get older, you'll see more and more curves and interesting growth features like that as they tried to make their way up to the canopy.
So they're not getting any higher per se, but they're still trying to stretch.
Yes, they're doing all sorts of interesting things to grow out. Yep.
And the plate here, I mean, this is almost something like from a dinosaur. So again, if you got kids, this is about engaging them and just, oh, I shouldn't have knocked it down.
I won't tell.
Don't I'm just throwing a leg. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But it's amazing because you can see that arc all the way up there.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, as we walk out here, you know, what is the state of Canada's forests in general? And I know that's a pretty wide question, depending, I guess, on where you are provincially. But do we have a healthy canopy overall in terms of our forests?
We're in a pretty good position in Canada compared to a lot of places in the world, but there are threats to our forests that, you know, are keeping them from kind of being their prime. Down here in southern Ontario,
Right.
lots of fragmentation where the forests have been really chopped up.
Right.
But up in northern Ontario, you have a bit more of an intact condition and more forest cover. So really a variable situation, but a lot of trees.
So optimistic then.
Yeah, I would say so.
Which is good. And some may say, you know, I mentioned the stat, some scientists and mathematicians got together and they tried to calculate, they said over 3 trillion trees. Sounds like a lot. I'm like, oh, we're fine. But the other side of that, they're suggesting 15 billion are cut by humans every year.
Yeah.
So that also is a lot of trees.
We have a robust forest industry in Canada, and it's a good thing, but
Right.
it just needs to be balanced with places that are just fully set aside from disturbance where the trees get to grow. And I like a sustainable forestry practice.
Right.
If it's done right, I think it can be okay. It's a big part of Canada's economy, but
Sure.
I love to see the places that are just left to become really old and really cool.
Well, you know, and we were talking about that a little bit too, that you mentioned about the other generation. I have young kids, and I would love the fact when they get older and they have kids that they will have a forest with trees that are over 20 years old.
Well, that's music to my ears. That's what the Nature
Right.
Conservancy of Canada is trying to do. Conserve it today so it's here forever.
I mean, and it's really vital. It's interesting too, as we look here, there's such a variety of things to examine. And the one thing that struck me here is, look at the footprint here of, I mean, this was a very old tree.
This was a massive tree at
No
some point in
kidding.
its life. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, some may say, oh my God, why was it cut down? And the municipalities have an obligation to keep people safe. So if it's reached its lifespan,
Beside a trail,
right,
exactly, yeah.
they will have to cut it. But they have left some trees. Now, you were pointing out, though, this tree is not from that stump.
No, this tree, I kind of puzzle pieced it together with that little riffle in the bark, and it's right here too. This tree came from this stump, but I didn't know that at first, so I tried to measure this one by looking at the diameter of it. I have a tree hugging measurement tip I can show you later.
Oh, okay, I look forward to that.
But then I counted the rings, and it actually matched up. This tree was 122 years when it came down.
So was your calculation right?
I was within 3 years. I'm
Oh, well,
pretty
that's-
impressed.
So we're going to share that with you. We're going to share how you can sort of estimate, you know, how old a tree is. Now, this tree, over the course of even through this show, we have talked about the ash borer beetle, and I think we're seeing some of the signatures. So, Ricardo, if you wouldn't mind to show our friends watching right now, this is the telltale sign, right?
That's it. So that was the larvae burrowing out of the tree and unfortunately being fatal to it on its way out.
So we're seeing the trees have been cut and they're left in place, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, so it's actually really important to leave trees down, even ones that had diseases like emerald ash borer, because they start to decompose and then they feed the forest. They feed those nutrients back into the system,
Right.
and then the new trees get to take advantage of those and become the next
So
generation
it's all
of trees.
part of that cycle.
Exactly.
Now, it's interesting here. This is some sort of fungus. Is it technically a mushroom? Would we call it a type of mushroom?
It is, yeah. This is actually a turkey tail fungus, so I guess we have Thanksgiving coming up, so it's apt. So it's doing.
Can we stuff that? The cranberry sauce?
I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, it's doing exactly what you just talked about, is breaking down what's left of that stump to return it to the forest floor. So fungi and bacteria really help that process along.
So I guess this would not have started originally. It's because of the process of the tree that was cut. It's now dead. It's decaying, and this was sort of that boost for this to take charge.
Yeah, exactly. Ecosystems are really cyclical. So we're just seeing the end of this tree's life cycle, and all around us we're seeing the start of new trees growing up. This forest is full of sugar maple seedlings, so I'm really happy to see that next generation of trees making its way through.
And so this was called turkey. Is it
Turkey tail fungus.
Turkey tail?
Because it looks like a turkey
yes.
tail.
Look out for that this weekend with the kids, maybe. So that's very cool. And you can see also some other is growing on here. So just amazing. And you said about 122 years.
Yep, 122 on the dot.
You know, I often say, if only trees could talk, right? The things that they witnessed. Linda's joining us, who says, embrace the trees, forests are beautiful. Sarah J. wants to know where we are. I'm not going to mention the exact location, Sarah. As I mentioned off the top, and you just mentioned you're late, I don't think it's important. I think what's important is to take what we're doing in this show and finding it in your own neighborhood, your own community, and celebrating the wonders of trees. So that's why I'm going to hesitate on actually naming the location, because I think we have so many wonderful opportunities in our own area. And this is a chance to, you know, be introduced to that. I think it's very important. Jack says, anytime a tree is cut down, it's a sad day for me. And I think you're right. If a tree is diseased, though, you don't really have a choice.
Especially in an area, if you have trails where people are walking by,
Right.
it can be a human safety thing. So
Right.
taking it down and putting it away from the trail can actually
Right.
be the best thing to do.
And, truth be told, and we've seen a lot that have been cut here. I mean, I can guarantee you, no municipality says that's their mandate, we want to cut down trees.
Right.
But when they do cut it, they've left it here because, as you said, it's all part of a cycle, right?
Exactly. So this is an indicator of a healthy forest, having dead stuff standing up, lying down.
And there's another tree here. Let me get out of the way. It almost looks like elephant skin. So what's going on with this tree? Are you able to tell us that?
Elephant is the descriptor I always use when
Right.
I'm talking about beech trees. So this is an American beech tree, and it has this sort of smoothish gray bark. This
Right.
one's in a bit of distress.
Okay.
There's a pest that likes the beech tree, unfortunately, and it has beech bark disease.
I see.
But it's still doing okay. It's still hanging in there, pretty big.
I mean, it's really astounding. I'm guessing in the height of it, I don't know, 60 feet maybe?
Yeah.
So it is quite amazing. So this is impacting the tree, and I guess over time we'll tell on maybe the municipality may have to at some point.
It's the truth, because they can decay and then again cause a bit of a hazard. But you know what? If it comes down and then feeds the forest, the next trees that grow up, or
Right.
maybe the strong and healthy maple, that can make it through.
Well, as we walk over down this path, let's talk about that. National Forest Week is next week. Sorry, Ricardo, we're going to go just down here, and I'll let you lead so you don't trip over all the old logs. I don't want that happening. What can we do to celebrate Forest Week? What can we do, in our own little footprint, in our own area?
Well, I think the best thing people can do is actually just get out to the woods and enjoy it. Forest bathing is taking off as a really popular activity, and
Right.
that is simply the act of exactly what we're doing. Just quietly, well, we're talking a lot, but quietly enjoying the forest, soaking in the smells and the sights, and just being in nature.
Yeah, and forest bathing, we've done actually an episode on my podcast, The Big Blue Marble, and I'll show you stuff on that in just a moment. It is so important, and it's actually scientifically proven the benefits, right?
Absolutely.
On our well-being. So this is another reason why I wanted to do this particular show with the focus of it.
Yeah.
Just before we get into the weather and some of your comments, I wanted to talk about this tree.
Wow.
It's pretty big. I mean, that's a big wound, right?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So these growths that happen on trees are called galls or burls, and they all grow out if the tree is being impacted by an insect. Maybe an insect was trying to lay eggs or trying to feed on it, and the tree actually grows its bark out to protect itself.
Trying to heal it, right?
Exactly, and then you can see it kept going, so.
So, fair to say, I mean, this may have happened 15, 20 years ago or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's certainly not an overnight or a few months.
Yeah, this is pretty common though. Once you start to see gulls and burls, you look around and you kind of see them everywhere in a forest. Common, but trees can withstand it.
Gulls or
Burls.
burls?
Yeah,
Okay, our word for today.
vocabulary lesson.
Not dull stones, Vern. Just so you He's got that. But that is interesting. And again, if you're a photographer, I mean, that in itself is also striking. It is what it is,
Absolutely.
right?
It just adds a little bit of variation to this already beautiful forest.
Man, okay. Let's get into the forecast, guys, and then I'll show you some cool images as we continue our tour, including the tallest tree in the world. But we'll start off by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble podcast. You can listen along to undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people that are trying to save it. It is available on your favorite podcast player and also online at bigbluemarble.earth. I wanted to show you the tallest tree in the world. This was really interesting. It's in California, and it's nicknamed the Hyperion. And it's a coast redwood tree, and this is really fascinating because you can see it's well above all the other trees. It's over 600 years old. It's 380 feet high. 380 feet high and 22 feet wide. Again, this is the tallest tree in the world, and I was just floored by it. That would be one of my bucket list things, to head out, in particular out west, and to connect with something like that. But it's just a striking photo. So as we continue our stream here on Here and There, talking about National Tree Week, I should point out, by the way, that tree 43 years ago was almost going to be cut down by a logging company. And within just a few weeks, then President Jimmy Carter expanded the boundaries.
Oh, there you go.
And said, we're going to save it. And today, almost 50 years later, we're still talking about that tree, which is amazing, right?
Pretty nice.
Pretty nice indeed. So you were mentioning about guessing a tree's age. And I'm intrigued about this because I think this is a great way to do something with the kids. So we're going to head down here.
Sure.
I was looking down when I first came, and to me, this seems like the oldest tree in the area. I'm going to, yeah, I'm only guessing, maybe 250 years old, but I could be completely off. But it is a very amazing tree. I mean, the height, it's straight, it's wide, it looks still relatively healthy despite the scar. But maybe we can start with that. That scar at the bottom, do you think that could have been even when it was younger, or do you think sort of mid-range?
Yeah, good question. I mean, trees are going through so much as they're making their way on that hundreds of year journey up to the canopy. So it could be anything from another tree that was there, lightning and disease, a pest. It's kind of a mystery, and I kind of like it.
Well, that's true. And nonetheless, it has survived.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It caught my eye when we walked into it. It's no doubt the biggest tree in here, and I have a way that we can find out if it's one of the oldest.
So how do we do that?
Okay, so I hope you like tree hugging, and I work for the Nature Conservancy of Canada, and that's a bit of a rumor that we're all tree huggers. It might be true,
It's
though.
obligatory, right? We've got to do it. Okay, so literally we're going to hug this tree?
We're going to both hug it because I
Okay.
can see it's big enough that we'll both
So I'll
see if
get
we
on
can get
this
our
side.
arms around. And I need a volunteer from the audience to come over here and tell me how far apart Anwar and my hands are.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're going to be able to get our arms around.
No, I
so
don't
if you
think
can stand
so
over there.
either. I got to watch out for the raccoon poop. Boy, this is Johnny on the spot for him.
Let's see your right hand.
Okay,
or
so I'll just put this here. My right?
this hand, yeah, get it so I can see it, and then
oh.
I'll touch my fingers to yours.
Here we go.
Okay, well, nope, not touching because
Okay.
of COVID, but okay, now stretch and hug and feel all those benefits that you get from hugging a tree. How far apart are me and Anwar's hands?
18 inches.
18 inches. Okay, now here comes the complicated math.
Okay, can I release?
Good luck.
Release.
Good luck.
Okay, so Anwar, what I noticed is we're on the edge of a wetland, so it's
Yes.
quite wet.
Right.
These trees like to have their feet wet. When I looked up, it's a silver maple tree, so it's a wetland maple tree.
Okay.
Okay, so our hands are about the same size, our arm length is about the same size as we are tall.
Oh.
So I'm 5'6", which is 66 inches. How about you?
5'9".
Okay, so 60 plus
Ish.
9. I won't hold you to it. Okay, so now that's the diameter of the tree. I'm going to divide by pi. We're back to grade 5 math.
Yeah.
And then the growth factor for silver maple is 3. So I'm going to take that number and divide it, or multiply it by
Right.
3. So this guy, while huge, is not as old as we thought, 130 years.
Really?
Because they grow fast. A sugar maple has a growth factor of 5. So if it was a sugar maple, it would be 250 years,
Right.
just like you said. But it's a silver maple, it's racing for the canopy. We'd find its growth rings very far apart.
So your little formula then, 1 is the hugging, 2 is your width, which would be your height.
Yep.
But the key is knowing the type of tree you have, essentially, the species.
Exactly, because
And-
they all grow at different rates.
And there are a number of apps that you can get that are free that do identify
Yeah,
that
I
as well.
found some cool resources on the web. I just Googled how to age a tree by hugging it. So that's out there for everybody if you want to learn how to do this. It's a lot of fun and lots of benefits from hugging those trees.
Yeah, I think it would be. Again, engage the kids doing something, different. And that really surprises me when you say that the tree is, not over 200 years of age. Nonetheless, boy, that's a beautiful tree.
It's a beauty.
That is a beautiful tree. Faye says we need those trees. Sarah says tree hugging. Yep, we're doing that. And Simone says check out the trees at Wexford Park in Scarborough. A lot are very tall with large trunks, and you often wonder how old they are. Donna says math! Exclamation point. Well, I think it's pretty easy math though. And Narita says you're very knowledgeable. Good to have as a guest today.
Oh, that's so nice.
Well,
Thank
isn't that
you.
something? And Laura mentions, at 130 years, still a great story to tell. I think that's so true. We also do have a couple of people saying that the clean face look is the way to go. Dare I ask you?
I think I like it clean.
You like it clean. Okay. In the meantime, I want to show you the oldest living tree in the world. And I hope I get the pronunciation. This is also out of California. It's the Methuselah. And this tree germinated, think about this, before the Egyptian pyramids were built. I mean, it's amazing. So we're saying approximately 5,000 years old.
Oh, wow.
Which, again, right? It's a bristlecone pine, and the precise location is still a regarded secret. They don't want people going out there and touching it and stomping around. Some of these trees at the base, if enough people come, it actually can impact it. But very cool indeed. And as we get close to wrap up, I also want to show you the oldest tree in Canada. And this one's kind of cool. It's a giant yellow cedar, and it's at the Dakota Bull Bear Sanctuary in British Columbia. It's over 1,500 years old. And you know what's really interesting is that these legacy trees have been a big story recently. Less than 3% of the province's biggest, most ecologically important old growth trees remain there. So I have to ask you, Kristen, you know, what point do we actually say enough is enough? That we've got to just leave these. How do we get that word out? Because I go back to my kids to think that we have trees that are over 1,000 years old in our own country. I would love to think at some point I can take them there, or they can go there as they're adults. I'm bewildered that we find the need, we want to get rid of them all.
Yeah, and I mean, the forestry industry is so important, right? Like, we have hardwood floors, we sit at wooden tables, we need
Right.
our forestry industry, but it's just a question of what parts should we make sure we're setting aside to just be protected forever. And I think really getting people to these places is a huge part of it. So I'd
Right.
encourage everybody to get out to nature any chance you get, hug the tree, sit by it, breathe in the smells and
Sure.
hear the sounds, and then you start to connect with nature in a totally different way. It's not just something that's then over there, it's out in BC, I'll never see it, but you can actually form relationships with these trees,
Yeah.
and I think that makes everything start to mean more to all of us.
And if people want to find out more about the Nature Conservancy of Canada and support their initiatives, because I know you guys work very hard, as you mentioned off the top, you know, trying to preserve some of these land spaces. How can we help what you guys are doing?
Well, I'd love for people to check out our website. It's natureconservancy.ca, and you can find out about all the sorts of projects we're doing all across Canada, including some really neat ones right here in Ontario, some even closer to Toronto than you might think. So,
And as we wrap up, is there one little thing that strikes you most about trees?
just that trees have always been there for me. That is what came to mind. I have sat under so many, I have
Yeah.
hugged so many, I have walked with so many over the
Yeah.
course of my life, and they are always here, a steady presence, and I wouldn't want a world without them.
Well, you and me both, and I'm hoping that we're able to, I know a lot of you as well love nature, that's how come we've connected so much, but I think it's important that we have a duty to try to propel that, right, to get that word out and try to preserve nature, because really this is the grounding plate. I think without nature, especially if you look at the last almost 2 years, what we're dealing with in terms of the pandemic, this is where you can get a deep breath and just escape everything that's going on. It's very important for our well-being and, you know, as families to unite in a safe environment. So I encourage you to do that as well. And just as we wrap up here, Cindy says prettiest tree is the ginkgo. Connie says handsome with the clean face. I bet my wife likes it. Yeah, she says that she's okay either way. Barbara says I have a silver maple that's 34 years old. It's a huge tree. Simone says I hug trees. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So listen, you know, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you for watching today. As always, support what we're doing. Show me the parade of hearts, the likes. Make sure you share so other people can, you know, join what we're trying to do each and every Friday here on the Here and There Show. And if you're watching this on the replay on YouTube, like, subscribe, and as well share. Let's continue this story, and it's right here every Friday on my Facebook page. For now, I'm going to wish you a great weekend. Get outdoors and hug a tree. All right, see you later. Let's hug this tree. We're hugging. All right, take care, guys. Have a great weekend.